moving at speed of sound. Like track we can hedgehog around. Got ourselves a situation, stuck in a new location without any explanation. No time for relaxation. Gotta go fast. Gotta go faster, 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 Sonic X.
The OG Xbox, which is what we should call it now, with the Xbox One ruining everything. How come no one but Sony knows how to name their goddamn consoles? Oh, Sega! But it's not on a Sega console! What happened? The Dreamcast bombed! What is the future of Sega now? Yeah, I don't know if it's just my copy that's fucked up, or if it's the backwards compatibility, but there is a little bit of scratchiness to it, I guess you could describe. Like, it looks like a vertical sync fuck up there if you go back and watch that. You can really noticeably tell. But anyway, I struggled for a while trying to figure out, okay, how am I gonna do this game? And you'll see why when we get into it, but okay, here's where that old intro for all the Sonic Adventure came from. It's synced up really shockingly well. That's the only reason. The issue was because do I want to play through this game 4 times in a row? No, I didn't want to do that, because that's what you have to do. But for this playthrough, do I want to play through the exact same levels? The exact same, like, fucking 14 levels 4 times in a row and just show it. All of it. No, I really don't want to do that. That's gonna get tedious. Like, if this game was a fucking great, fantastic 10 out of 10 experience, I wouldn't have a problem with replaying it 4 times in a row. Problem is, it's not. It is not a fucking fantastic supercalifragilisticexpialidocious game. At its absolute best, I find it pretty average, all things considered, which is not a positive note to start the video on, but like, the point is, I figured it out. I figured out what I'm gonna do with this with this playthrough. Yeah, again, you can, like, I think it's the backwards compatibility. Let's start a fresh save first. So here is the biggest problem, and its greatest strength, but its biggest problem is there are the 4 teams. So when you're playing this game, you're going through... This game has 7 acts, 2 zones each, and it's the it's the exact same levels over and over and over again. So you're literally just playing the same game from beginning to end 4 times with 4 different teams with negligible differences. So I figured out what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate. I'm going to do, like, well, I'm going to do the first level with all 4 teams, just to show you, like, the tedium of it, but after that, it's like, 2nd level, Team Sonic, 3rd level, Team Dark, 4th level, Team Rose, 5th level, Team Chaotix, and I feel like that'll be a pretty good way to cover the game, showing off all the different gameplay styles, without getting dragged down by the tedium. I will still show off all the cutscenes though. But anyway, all that being said, I am going to do the first level with all 4 teams just to show you, like, that's the true experience of this game, right? But let's dive right in with Team Sonic.
Alright.
Oh yeah. Look out down below. Sonic. Oh god. What is that voice acting? Jesus Christ.
Yo, Tails! Long time no see!
Sonic, check this out!
What is Sonic?
Guess what, Sonic?
Where did that come from? Okay, this game's story, quote-unquote, is really kind of fucked up, to be honest. There's a lot of things about this game's story
Sounds like an invitation.
that are like...
What are we gonna do, Sonic?
Oh god.
No worries. We've got this one.
Knuckles, what are you doing here?
Time to crack that Eggman wide open. Yeah, let's party.
Can't make an omelet without cracking a few Eggmans. Oh, I guess the tornado just crashed off screen there. Seriously, why is Knuckles here? Oh my gosh. Okay. There's a lot of things to get into about this game, actually. But first things first, and most importantly...
Alright.
Let's go, guys. There's a goal we're pursuing. Knuckles, what in the heck are you doing? I'm gonna use you guys as boxing gloves. Wait, what? No! Oops, foot's cracked. Only one more pillar left. Top Knuckles, poor tail is bleeding to death. Just a sec. I've got one more rock to shove. I don't see the point of this quest. We'd surely meet a great fate. Oh, come on, Shad, don't be so depressed. Worthless. Consumer models. Annihilate. My ears propel us through the air.
They never give
Whoa, Big, please don't stare. Froggy, are you in there? Where's the rest of us? Can't be far.
Let's leave it to
Mighty's in some bar, don't know where the rest are. Heavy and bomb au revoir. Oh my god, I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. Ever since I saw that frickin' video, that song has been stuck in my frickin' head. Look up, I think it's Seaside Distillation, something like that. Like type in this level, Seaside Hill, or something like that, and that video will pop up. I swear to god, I had that stuck in my head. Speaking of,
Some of the submerged sea ruins move when you
there's a lot of things to talk about this game, but
level up.
okay. First things first, this is the first Sonic game
That's it.
that was on multi-platforms. This game launched on GameCube, PS2, and Xbox back in the day. And again, that was significant. That was a big deal back when it happened because, again, remember, after the Dreamcast bombed, no one was really sure what was in store for Sega's future as a company. Like, were they just gonna go bankrupt? What are they gonna do? Like, they were hardware manufacturers for such a long time. It was like, what is in store for them now? So this game was kind of their big unveiling, even more so than Sonic Adventure 2 Battle coming out on the GameCube. This game was kind of their big, like,
leave it to me.
don't call it a comeback, I've been here for years, right?
Attack them with Thundershoot.
Like a Sonic game, not only on a Nintendo console, but on the PS2 and Xbox. That was significant happenstance. And it also, I feel, explains a lot of the weirdisms with this game. Like, there's a lot of niggling little technical things about this game that I'm like, but it is completely understandable why this isn't necessarily the most polished of products. Because I'm almost over this cough, I swear to god. There's just a little bit of scratchiness in the throat left over.
Here we go.
Because they were working with from their perspective, completely no hardware. Think about it, all this time,
Let's go.
all the games they've made were made in-house for hardware that they developed. It's like, you know that expression how Mario 64, like, the Nintendo 64 controller was made for Mario? Imagine porting Mario 64 to any other console. Like,
We're counting on you.
that's not the best comparison, but you see what I mean there. Like, they weren't used to working with the hardware that the other consoles gave them to work with. And not only that, but this was not only the first game they had to make on unfamiliar hardware, but it was the first game they had to make that would work on 3 different kinds of hardware. So not only was it a console that they hadn't created, it was 3 different consoles, all with very different specs. And they had to make this game making sure that it would fucking function on those 3 wildly different consoles. So this was like their first time as a third-party company making a game in that way. So I feel like that explains and justifies a lot of the decisions that were made in this game's general design. Like, for one thing,
take care of
it has a completely new engine from Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, obviously. And it's relatively unpolished because they had to figure out how to get it working. So I feel like, oh, dude, that's always the worst when that happens. Anyway. Right at the end, too. Literally right at the end. So I feel like that explains why they were like... It was sort of this interesting position where they were both in a untested territory where they didn't necessarily really know what they were doing, and they had to like find their new footing as a company. But at the same time, that was probably also pretty liberating to an extent. It was like when you're at the end of your rope, almost, you kind of have the freedom to do whatever you want, so to speak. Like, what a great opportunity to experiment and try doing new things compared to what you've been doing before. You know, it's certainly an interesting opportunity, so it's like there's pros and cons to it, and I feel like that's why after Adventure 2 they were like, okay, let's make this new game and you play as 3 characters all at the same time.
That was tight!
And they all have different styles of gameplay to them. And like, it isn't perfect, but that's an interesting idea to kind of go out there with and be like, yeah, let's it feels a little bit like it is at the same time
a sea palace.
Looks like Eggman's robots are here too.
I'm ready to take them out.
Like them playing it safe and throwing caution to the wind and trying something completely new at the same time. And I know that's weird, but like that's sort of the feeling I get from this game. Where, especially in terms of story, but also, or lack thereof.
I'll take care of them.
In terms of their story or lack thereof, but also just in terms of the design, this feels a lot like a back-to-basics kind of game. Like, it feels like they were stepping back from the formula of the adventure style and trying like to go back to the fundamentals of what makes Sonic Sonic. You know, so you have zones with two acts to each zone. You have special stages. The Chaos Emeralds are part of the main story, but you collect them in special stages that you unlock at the end of a level. Like in the style of Sonic 1, where you had to get 50 rings and get to the end and come into the giant ring. In this, you'll notice I collected, oh shit. Oh fuck. I collected a key there. The key gives you access to the special stages, which is where you try to earn the Chaos Emerald. Like, holy shit, a 3D Sonic game where you have to, where like, the Chaos Emeralds are somewhat optional. And you have to go through special stages in order to get them. And the story, which you'll see very much so as we go forward. But the story is very bog standard, very basic, almost non-existent. I almost feel like this game would probably have benefited, actually, from a complete lack of any sort of explicit narrative to it. Because the narrative that is there is fucking not great. And I feel like actively regressive for many of the characters in it. And the characters that aren't regressive, it's just confusing. Like, again, I've always made this point. Why is Knuckles here? What is he doing? Why is he helping out? What does any of what's happening in this game's story have to do with him? Who is protecting the Master Emerald right now? What the fuck is going on, Knuckles? And like, the story is Eggman invited them to, hey, come over here, I've got an evil plan. Come try and stop me, Sonic heroes. Where the fuck does that come from? Plus, it's really cheesy. Although, in retrospect, the invitation does make more sense than you would think looking back on it, but still. And, oh my god, the voice acting is so bizarre. Like, this game was made before the 4Kids voice contract finally finalized, so the voice actors in this, for Sonic and a couple other characters, are the same voice actors as they had in the Dreamcast games. Yes! But Tails' voice actor in particular is fucking dog shit. I don't know what is going on there. You wanna know what's going on there? They got an actual 9-year-old to voice Tails. Like, they got an actual physical human child to voice Tails in this game. A child who can't act, even more so. So, I guess on the one hand you could say that's authentic, on the other hand, holy shit, his voice acting is dog shit in this game. It just kind of feels like a massive step back after, like, the complex, relatively speaking, narrative of the adventure games and the various themes that they went into. Here, this is practically an excuse plot that only really kinda picks itself up at the very, very end. And with Team Dark. Team Dark is both an example of this game, it's probably the best example of this game's substandard plot, because it does something and then does absolutely nothing with it, but I'll get to that when we get to it.
This is all Knuckles!
But, like, that's why there's this really interesting dynamic with, they're going back to basics, but they're also trying out a lot of new stuff. I mean, obviously, as you can see, there's 3 different styles of gameplay here, which I haven't talked about. There's the speed style, which is pretty much classic Sonic, with some extras like the triangle jump, which I think is really fun. Got it. Give me that. There's the power style, which is all very more combat-oriented. And I love how he's using them as boxing gloves, basically. That is so hilarious. This is what you use to, like, clear a room full of enemies, which sometimes the game will be like, clear a room full of enemies, and it's like, why? And there's the flying style, which conceptually I like a lot, but the fact that you have to go around in this fucking pillar formation looks really goofy to me. And, there are various instances where you can decide, oh, I want to go down this path, which predominantly asks you to use this style, or you can go down this other path, which is predominantly based around using that style.
It's coming this way! Get out of the way!
And the design of the levels incorporates switching between the different styles frequently. And it's actually pretty interesting.
Looks like its buddy has joined the party.
But personally, it's just really doesn't necessarily appeal to me all that much. I'm not a huge fan of it. And that's where my niggling little isms with the game sort of crop up, is I'm just kind of really not a huge fan of the heroes system, I guess, where you're playing as the 3 characters at once and switching between them. Which I'll get into more so later.
Too easy!
I almost sort of feel like this is somewhat like the Sonic CD of the 3D games, where it did something different and it experimented in a way that's objectively really interesting, and I can totally understand why some people would say this is their favorite Sonic game. And some people would say that, and I get it, but personally, it just doesn't appeal to me very much. So this is a special stage to collect the Chaos Emerald. Again, a 3D Sonic game where the Chaos Emeralds are something quote-unquote optional, and you go through these special stages to collect them. I'm not a huge fan of them, mostly because, okay, it kind of takes you a little bit to wrap your head around what the special stages are asking you to do. Because you think, okay, let's play as the speed character and just race through and try to catch up to it, but for some reason, it's really kind of buggy when you use the speed character for some reason. Like, I don't necessarily get what's happening here, but sometimes you will just get caught up on the corner, and I want to see if I can make that happen just to show it. Like that. Sometimes that'll just happen. Sometimes, like, you'll get caught up on a weird geometry or something, and you will just stop dead in your tracks. So what you should actually do during these special stages is you want to play as the power character. The power character, for whatever reason, that does not happen to you when you're playing as the power character nearly as... Like, look at this. I am just stuck in place. I have no idea why this is happening. But when you're playing as a power character, he doesn't get hung up like that nearly as often. I'm already stuck because I was playing as a speed character. But then, boom, look at this. You can just go, like, bam! It's really weird. Like, there's a weird kind of learning curve to it, and the later special stages get really fucking difficult if you don't know that. Like, look at this.
Alright!
It's really fucked up and kind of weird, but yeah. That's what all the special stages are. And again, how cool is it to have a 3D Sonic game with Get the Emerald special stages? I kind of wish they would bring that back, because boy am I not a fan of the fucking collecting the red rings in order to get the Chaos Emeralds in the new games. But anyway, like, again, it's sort of a back to basics sort of thing. Like, they're playing it safe, but they're also making an ambitious, like, fuck it, do whatever you want decision. What have we got to lose?
Stop your futile efforts. You'll just make fools of yourselves!
I think you got that backwards, Doc.
Egg Hawk. Another big problem with the game is asset reuse. And again, that's understandable considering the nature of this game and its development and Sega having to get used to new hardware made by other companies and not their own hardware, but you'll see what I mean, and you'll really see what I mean, but like, even beyond just playing the same levels with each different team, with practically no variation.
Then Sonic and I'll take it from there.
Leave it to me. Dave!
With practically no variation. Like, there's some, but it's really not significant, I think. But even beyond that, like,
Knuckles, hey, Fred!
I hope you like the design of the Egg Hawk here, because that's the boss. That's Eggman's big robot boss that he uses. This is pretty much it, and he'll stack things on top of it. but for the most part, it's just that boss, and you fight it over and over and over again. Oh, so
Alright.
you fight it 7 times. No, you don't. And again, this will make more sense as we go through the game, but there's just...
Ready for the junk pile.
It's understandable why, but I'm still like, that's a flaw. That's a flaw that's hard to get over, and I get it, but, oh, why did it have to be this way, you know? So, let's try and get out of this real quick, because we are gonna play the stages here as Team Sonic,
Looks
but...
like Eggman escaped into the city.
Eggman's robots are taking control of everything.
Let's
Eggman's
man.
robots
Show 'em
are
the real power of
taking
teamwork.
control of everything. No, that's okay, Timmy. Just do the line again. Fuck, man. Tails' voice acting. I don't get it. They didn't get a real child for Cream. Why for Tails? Why? I don't even think that's the same voice actor as the Dreamcast game. So anyway, Team Dark,
Guys,
Affirmative.
which I probably have the most to talk about, for obvious reasons. I'm gonna give up this treasure hunting business. Yeah, sure you are, Rouge.
I found Eggman's secret treasure.
I love her new outfit, by the way. Hey, look, someone's not dead. What? How do you know my name? Hey, look, Shadow's not dead after all. Sayonara. Shadow the Hedgehog, right?
Hey, hold on!
Oh, whew, her face.
Now I do it. Now I know what this is all about.
Do you? Because I don't get it.
An Eggman for sealing you in this room. And you can't remember anything, can you? Then it's settled. Now you two make up so we can start looking for Eggman together.
Yeah, teamwork!
Oh yeah, baby. This makes us a team.
I fucking love that. There's literally no reason for them to be working together. Rouge is just like, yeah, let's hang out. And Omega and Shadow are like, whatever.